Okay. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's shiur. Tonight, we're going to be studying Parashat Bo. Thank again, Mayor Gabba and Jonah Hari for arranging tonight's shiur. And I'd like to dedicate Lelu Nishmat Rivka Bat Shena, Ruach Hashem Tinechela B'Gan Eden, Amen. I'd like to wish Chaim Tovim Arukim and Refuah Shelema for Am Yisrael, including Rabbi Alanot and Bat Leah Malka, Elisheva Bat Sheva Bat Rivka, Baruchli Bat Rosette, Yael Leah Bat Rosette, and also Moshe Ben Esther. רפואה שלמה, כלנה, רפואה נעלה, רפואת הגוף, רפואת הנשמה, רפואה קרובה לבוא. Bezrat Hashem, the shiur Torah that we're studying tonight together, and the chizuk that we'll get Bezrat Hashem in Emunah, should be in their merit for a speedy recovery and refua shlema. So Parashat Bo.
Rabbi, I also sent you an email. Did you see it? With another name.
Okay. Oh yes, here is the name for tonight's shiur. Noah or Nava Tova Bat Yoshua Yisrael Leib Biliora Chana. That is for Lelu Nishmat.
Yeah.
Lelu Nishmat Nava Tova Bat Yoshua Yisrael Leib. תהיה נשמתה צרורה בצרור החיים. Okay, thank you for the name. Also, as a general, if anyone has a name to mention, please mention in the shiur and be for the merit as well. So, Parashat Bo is the parasha of Yetziat Mitzrayim. And what is the message of that we're learning of the parasha of Yetziat Mitzrayim? Especially the importance is the Ramban at the end of the parasha. The most famous Ramban, and according to the Sefer Bet Aaron, one of the early Hasidic rabbis, leaders, he told his Hasidim that they should study every single day this Ramban because of its such magnitude of importance. And we see that Zecher Yetziat Mitzrayim comes out several times through the mitzvot that we do every single day. For example, in the morning, already Shema Yisrael, we remember Yetziat Mitzrayim. Tefillin, when we put on, remember Yetziat Mitzrayim. Yeah, when we go past the mezuzah also Zecher Yetziat Mitzrayim. Every week Shabbat, Kiddush, Zecher Yetziat Mitzrayim. And so on and so forth, and the Chagim, and Matzot, and Chametz, and Karet, and Pesach, and such a big deal is made out of Yetziat Mitzrayim, okay? And you are somebody who's a frequent traveler. Yeah. What's the big deal? Okay, you left Egypt. Okay, you left. It's not traveling. So obviously there's much more fundamental over here in its importance and magnitude. Otherwise, he wouldn't have told his Talmidim to do every single day to remember it. And we wouldn't have so many mitzvot involved around them. And really, what is the purpose of mitzvot is to bring a person to perfection, to bring a person to his shlemut. So we're going to talk a little bit about this Ramban. And then we're going to talk a little about the Hilulot and some Baba Sali, and we'll do some stories. So the Ramban says, in the end of the parasha, on the mitzvah of tefillin itself, he says that the emunah of people started to be lishtabesh, in the words of the Ramban. Which means people's faith and the Emunah and HaKadosh Baruch Hu started to get a bit shaky. And he divides into three levels. Level one, people complete kofer ba'ikar. Yeah, the world always existed. It's been around for millions of years. There's no God. We don't know who he is. We don't know what he's called. We don't know where he's come from. That's level one. Complete kofer everything. Second one is, listen, yeah, God created the world. And then he went to do other stuff, And he's finished, and now we're here. We do whatever we want. There's nothing to do with God. He doesn't know about us. He doesn't know who we are. He doesn't really care what we do. Whatever we want. The third level is, even if he knows, but there's no hashgacha. There's no individual divine providence. No one really cares. We're just like a bunch of fish in a fish tank. That God's just like watching what goes on. Doesn't really get involved with us. You can see us, but we can do what we want and nothing to do with God. And there's no really reward or punishment Hashem just left. He's just like sitting back and watching. That's like the 3 levels of the Ramban calls Kfira ve'emunah. And so Hashem decided that he's going to show and prove himself. Like an individual wants to prove. So he makes the proof and then he gets it documented, right? You have testimony and then testimony is documented and then you refer back to the testimony. You don't always ask again for the witnesses to testify every time again. You have it recorded, it's documented, and then you can refer back to it. So that is why Hashem made all the nisim and the miracles of Yetziat Mitzrayim. In the words of the Ramban, the mofet b'shinui minhag ha'olam v'tiv'o, in the change of the nature, that is going to make clear, v'yitbarer lekol bitul ha'deot ha'ele kulam. And he says that the miracles, כי המופת הנפלא מורה שיש לעולם אלוקם בחדשו. ויודע, הוא משגיח ויכול. He's here, he's around, and he looks into everything. וכאשר יהיה המופת הוא נגזר תחילה מפי נביא, when a prophet, he prophesies, and he tells them there's going to be a mofet, so then we also have emunah in Navi. כי דבר אלוקים אל האדם. When Hashem told Moshe, go tell Paro, there's going to be a plague, and then there's going to be a plague, that increases also our belief in the prophet of Moshe Rabbeinu. And when we have that really gives authority to all of the Torah. So he divides into 3 stages, the Ramban. And this is very interesting as well. And also it also can be defined, also we split up into the 3 Tatzach, Adash, Be'achav, the 3 sets of plagues. And the Torah says, Leman Teda Ki Lashem Haaretz. God created the world. That was against the first one. You think God created it? No, Leman Teda Ki Lashem Haaretz. And he's in charge and he can rule everything. He gets involved and he can change everything. Vavur Teda Ki En Kamoni B'chol Haaretz. He has the power, he can change. And the 3rd stage is Leman Teda Ki Ani Hashem Bekerev Haaretz. What does it mean? I'm involved in every single action that you do. In your personal life, God is there. You have to look out for him. Now, when we recognize that, says the Ramban, just like to welcome Joe to the shiur and welcome Jacob as well. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We're talking about Yetziat Mitzrayim and all the mitzvot involved in remembering Yetziat Mitzrayim. And the Ramban is telling us is that when we remember the miracles that God did openly and revealing and proving himself, not only proving his existence, proving also his power over existence and his involvement in existence, we're supposed to remember, okay, that means God's here also in my day life. And if God took us out of Egypt, he can take me out of all my personal troubles. That's going to be like a piece of cake. Then that's trivial. That is what we need to be thinking about every time we're putting on tefillin. Zecher Yetziat Mitzrayim. And Hashem is not going to do, now again, a miracle every time there's going to be some kofar who is going to deny God. Okay, I don't believe God. Show me God. Okay, so again, I'm going to do miracles. I did miracles. We documented it. We do mitzvah every day. We do several mitzvot every day and every week and every year. We sit down with our children and say, listen, don't doubt God. We were slaves. God took us out. And that is going to remind us all out through history. Now, moving on to the next point. And this is really what the whole thing of what Pesach is about. Why is Chametz so important that it's karet? Even Korban Pesach is karet. It's the only mitzvah asay in the whole of Torah which is karet. Usually you have a negative command. Don't do something, otherwise you'll get karet. There's only one mitzvah to actually do something. Mitzvah asay to do Korban Pesach, and if you don't, you'll get karet. Why? So the whole importance of this is because of the emunah. And here the Ramban comes to his chidush. We're supposed to believe without a reasonable doubt, with beyond doubt, that God has created the world. He's involved in all our existence. And all of the mitzvot that we fulfill, every mitzvah, not only the mitzvot which is directly related to Yetziat Mitzrayim, but every mitzvah, every time we just make a bracha. Every time a person does that, we come into shiur Torah, we eat kosher food, checking if it's kosher. Everything we do, we are admitting to the existence of God. And that is the purpose of all the mitzvot, that we should believe in Hashem and thank Him. In the words of the Rambam, Kavanat kol ha-mitzvot shena'amin be'elokeinu v'nodeh elav. We should thank God, Shehu barenu, and admit that He created us. V'hi kavanat ha-yetzirah. The purpose of existence is this. There's no other reason for existence, only that we should know. God wanted us to know that He created us and that we should thank Him. That's it. And He said that's why we have tefillah and why we go to shul and we have Bet Knesset, that all of us should come as a group of 10 or as a public, as a community, and come into the synagogue, שיהיו בני אדם מקום יתקבצו וידעו לקהל שברעם, and thank the Creator that created them. והמציאם ויפרסמו זה and publicize it. ויאמרו לפניו בריותיך אנחנו, we are your creations. That's it. That's the purpose of life. Recognize that we've been created and thank God. Thank God that I'm alive. And it's the realization deep within a person that he knows, I was created by God. Everything that I've been given is by God. Everything I have is a gift from God. Where I live, the people who are around me, everything that I have, all my possessions, all gifts from God. That is the purpose of your creation, according to the Ramban. And this is the central focus of all the mitzvot. Every time we do a mitzvah, we're supposed to be thinking about this again. And then concludes the Ramban. Oh, he adds in one line over here, like in parentheses. That tefillah needs to be done with your voice, aloud, not a silent prayer, even though tefillah is tefillah shebalev. But it says, "Vayikru el Elokim bechazka." Says Yonah Mavi. They called out to Hashem. In tefillah, we sing, we pray out loud, we pray publicly. Why are we all thinking? What are we doing in shul? It's not a club. We come here to thank the Creator. We come here to sing Hallel, to sing Kabbalat Shabbat. That is the purpose of creation, according to the Ramban. When we remember the miracles of Egypt, we tell our children about the 10 plagues and the open miracles of the changing nature miracles. He said this is the fundamental of the Torah. And through that, we recognize also what he calls Nisim Nistarim. What's Nisim Nistarim? There's Nisim Agluim Mefursamim. ומן הניסים הגדולים המפורסמים אדם מודה בניסים הנסתרים. Hidden miracles. Yes, that's exactly the translation. So what does he mean by hidden miracles? When we talk about the miracles of Egypt, they were open miracles, right? With the fire and the hailstones, frozen water and fire, and changing of the wilder life, changing of the climate, all the plagues that change nature. But when you recognize that, you're supposed to realize that everything in life is a miracle. How come I had a baby? Where did that come from? That's a hidden miracle. How come I cut myself and now it's better? How did it heal? That's also a miracle, all right?
Can I pause you on that?
Yeah, please, Jeff.
Rabbi Mizrahi, actually, if you cut yourself and it eventually dries up.
Yes.
You know, if we cut ourselves deeply, it will eventually dry up. If you take a balloon and you fill it up with blood and you pierce a tiny hole, it will just drip and drip and drip and drip and it won't dry up.
Yes, absolutely. That is one of the daily miracles that we just don't notice until we bring attention to it and think, hey, that's true. That is one of the miracles. And how can it be that the neshama comes into our body and just doesn't fly out? We have open mouths, we have open nose, we have open ears. How does it stay in? So all daily miracles, even the people that we meet and the circumstances that we come through life, we're supposed to see God in everything that we do. This is one of the reasons of remember the miracles of Egypt every day. So when we put on our tefillin and the next day, tomorrow, and let's think about, hey, this is Keneged Lev, thinking about Yetziat Mitzrayim. So let's think about the miracles of Egypt and think about the miracles in my daily life and think about how all the purpose of life, according to the Ramban, is just to give thanks and admittance to God. So what's the reason now why we need to remember this every day? And why the Bet Aaron says that his Hasidim should study this Ramban every day that we're studying tonight, because this is fundamental. Emunah is something that you need to work on every day to instill in your heart. It's not an easy thing. So, okay, I believe that we went out of Egypt, and I believe there was miracles, and I believe God created, but in my day-to-day life, sometimes things happen which disappoint me. I get frustrated, I get maybe angry, I get disappointed. But if I think that God is watching over me and doing the best for me, I should really be calm. Even things don't work out as planned. So that is the emunah I need to work on. The Gemara says something very interesting. And he says that the different prophets, they summarized a person's or a Jewish person's job in life. He said there's all 613 mitzvot, but if we just summarize them into three, there's three main principles. And he says a pasuk, Higid lecha adam, ma tov u'ma Hashem doresh mimcha. What does God want from you? So three things. Asot mishpat, which means, let's translate that. Asot mishpat is to do justice, but it means to act honestly, in truth, integrity. Be honest. That's lasot mishpat, right? That means like in business, when you give your word, you keep to your word. Right? You say I'll be meeting, I'll meet you, I'll come to meet you. Ahavat chesed, which means to do good, gmilut chasadim, help out others. V'atznei lechet im Hashem Elokecha, which translated is to do things modestly, to keep things in between you and God. Not everyone has to see everything that you do. You don't have to publicize everything. Even the good things that you do. I mean, it seems like this Navi is maybe against Facebook. Not the whole world has to see everything that you do, even the good things that you do. I'm not saying something wrong with Facebook, but I'm just saying publicizing everything that you're doing. That's not something that is not Jewish concept.
The different perushim to atznei lechet. It's a yeah.
That pasuk simply means is when you do a good deed, it's not something that you, unless maybe there's a reason for other people to learn from. But there's no boasting about doing good deeds. And even if that person does share his good deeds, you should always have maybe something that no one knows about. Do one good thing that no one knows about. Yeah, maybe one time do the dishes without telling your wife I did the dishes. Yeah, just quietly. No one knows. Yeah, just secretly. She doesn't have to know. But do one good thing without anyone knowing. Just you and God. God knows that you helped out somebody. God knows what you did. Not everyone has to know, or no one needs to know about it. Then the pasuk says, Chazar Yishayahu, a different Navi, and says I can summarize it into two things. Ko amar Hashem, Shemu mishpat, be honest, v'asu tzedakah. And give to others charity. Tzedakah doesn't always mean charity, but it means giving to others. And then he says, Ba'amos ve'midam alachat. Ko amar Hashem lebeit Yisrael darshuni v'chayu. Just look out for me and you will live. Look out for God. Now, look out for God can mean, what do you mean look out for God? I mean look out for God in your daily life. That's what you need to do. And the Gemara asks, what do you mean look out for God? That could mean the whole Torah. You haven't really summarized them. He said, you know what the principle and the foundation of all the Torah? Three words. B'tzadik be'emunato yichya. The tzaddik lives with his emunah. That's how to live life. That is something which we all need to do, aspire to do. God is with me all the time, in all my difficulties, in my happiness, in all my times. I need to look out for him. So, in that way, it gives us what to be focused on. What should we be doing? All the mitzvot that we do should be leading us up to this factor of emunah. Okay, so with that, maybe talk about a little bit of the tefillin. Let's tie it back into tefillin, okay? And maybe we'll ask another question. I'll introduce a question. I went to Hilula this week to Baba Sali. Actually went to two. One was in the kollel and one was here next to my house. And my wife asked me, she said, Netanel, what can you explain to me? What is the point of going to Hilula? So if you're going to a chatuna, you're going to a wedding, l'sameach chatan v'kala, okay. You're going to bar mitzvah, so okay, I can understand that, you're helping the all mitzvot, simcha, sudat mitzvah. But what's the point of going into hilula? What is a hilula? For all those who don't know, it's basically a Moroccan party, and that's like loose translation of a hilula. A Moroccan party, lechvod tzaddik. It's much more than that, but loosely translated for a lot of people, that's what it means. And maybe we'll leave that as an open question. No, like I thought about it. And listen to Hilula is not just a party. It's much more than a party. Joe, you wanted to say something?
I don't know. I'm trying to answer the question in my
Go on,
mind.
explain. What's Hilula?
Well, I would imagine it's a celebration of the mitzvot that they did throughout their life.
Okay, so
in some way.
Okay, so what's the purpose of the Hilula? So it's to celebrate the deeds of the tzaddik, like Joe said in that. You put it very nicely. But it's much more than just a Moroccan party, but we sit, we eat, and we talk stories about the tzaddikim, we sing the songs of the tzaddikim. And everybody's supposed to come out with more stronger belief in Emunah and Hashem. You're supposed to bring you closer to Hashem. You're supposed to be mitchaber to the tzaddik. Mitchaber to tzaddik is and translate that in English.
Connect to the tzaddik.
Connect to yourself. Now, according to the Sfarim HaKadoshim, which are the holy books, sounds a bit foreign, but that's the Sfarim HaKadoshim. They say that when a person in the service of God, of Hashem, you can only reach a certain level on your own. After that, you need help from other tzaddikim. When you're connected to other tzaddikim, you can go raise higher. Now, that's like a deep concept, but it's something everyone has to find that tzaddik they can connect.
Which Rabbi Netanel, sorry, which Sfarim Kedoshim are you talking about? Because it's for Hasidim. I'm not sure it's the different opinion about it, right?
Okay, I don't know different opinion. I wrote it down because you asked me. Is Rav Nachman brings it down in Likutei Moharan.
Okay, yeah, of course.
Rav Nachman writes it down, and maybe one day it was questionable, but now is broadly accepted. Even Rav Dessler brings him down from Rav Nachman. But the idea of a concept is to connect to tzaddik. Now, even if you take out that idea, the concept of being connected to a tzaddik, ubotidbak. Even the Gemara says, what do you mean ubotidbak? B'talmidei chachamim v'tzaddikim. So my wife came up to me with the following question. She said to me, Netanel, you want to be connected to the tzaddik? Open up his sefer, study this book. Why are you not going to a party? It just sounds like an excuse to go to a party. So sit down and learn. You want to learn, go sit down, learn his book, and be connected to the tzaddik through studying his works.
One of the things that defines a person are the things that he celebrates and gets excited about.
Very nice idea. Go on. So then.
Also.
Go on, Joe.
So go on, mate.
If you want to link it to what we were saying before about, Hashem said to find him and that's what we're here for, then one of the most important things would be to celebrate the people who achieve that, because that's what you're about.
Oh, very nice. Very nice idea.
Can you connect it to prayer? Like
that's what I was. Well, that's what I'm saying.
I got there first. Yeah, I got there first.
Go on. One at a time, Joe.
You can stay at home and pray. You can stay at home and pray.
Yeah.
You can go to synagogue and pray. Is there a connection there with going to Hilula and reading a book at home of the tzaddik?
Joe, is that what you want to say?
Well, no. Well, if you're going to, you can either learn his book at home by yourself and then pray by yourself, or you can go and celebrate his life with amongst other people, and then be in a minyan and pray.
Oh, so similar to what Yaakov is saying.
Similar. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to show you the following idea, because really she thought about me. I didn't have help from all of you friends at the time when I was in conversation with my wife.
Got on the spot.
Yeah, she put me on the spot. But listen, I had to be honest with myself. Is it just an excuse for a party, or do I really have a good reason to go?
It's a personal.
Yeah, but I thought about this, and Baruch Hashem gave me the idea, and I really think this is true, so I want to share it with you. I said, when you're studying a book, okay, and it can be the great book and a great tzaddik, and it definitely that is one of the main ways, or one of the biggest ways, or strongest ways to connect to tzaddik and to connect to Hashem through the Torah of the tzaddik. However, when you're studying the Torah, so what happens is the Torah goes into your mind, into your head, okay? If we took a little bit of in Kabbalah, the head is the compartment of the neshama, which is split up into Chokhmah, Bina, Vedat. Chokhmah, Bina, Vedat, that's a Kabbalistic concept. And that is really Rashi Tavot of Chabad. That's the head, that's the neshama. Okay, that's where all your brain works, where you think, your Chokhmah is where you understand things. It's also connected to Tefillin Shalosh. You got the Keter, the Chokhmah, Bina, and at the back is the Da'at. So that's what you think. That's all your mind. In your body, that is when you've got the other sfirot of, that's where your ruach is and your nefesh. And your heart. Okay, in your heart. So when you're studying, it's a text, and you know the textual content, and you have the idea in your mind, but there's no connection between the mind and the heart. Now what happens is, that means you can know something and do something else. Okay, and if I give you, let's say, a crude example, somebody knows smoking is very unhealthy for them, or maybe dangerous for them, and they know that, but they don't really feel that, and they want to go for the cigarette, and they'll go for it. Or if they know there's a food they're not allowed, so they know it's not good for them, or they know it's dangerous for them, and they'll go eat it anyway. Why? Because there's not really connection. Does that make sense?
Desire and knowledge.
Yes, so the knowledge is there, but you don't really feel like you want to do it. Okay, or maybe you know that you should be doing something, and you don't do it because you don't feel like doing it. So that's also a concept of also emunah and the Torah. When we put on tefillin every day, we put on tefillin shel rosh keneged hamoach, in the mind, and tefillin shel yad keneged the lev. Okay? The whole point of the tefillin is to be a connector.
So when you say keneged, is it
keneged corresponding? It's corresponding. Your tefillin shel rosh is on your head, which is corresponding to your thoughts and to your mind.
Mm-hmm.
The tefillin shel yad is opposite the heart, and that is.
So they're not
corresponds to all your feelings and of the heart. That's what it is.
right.
Okay, so now there's supposed to be connections. Now the whole purpose of the Torah, and that's what the pasuk says. V'yadata hayom. You should know today. V'yadata hayom v'shavata elevavecha. You're supposed to bring it into your heart. That means a whole Jewish person is made up of body and mind, but it's supposed to be connected together. The guf and neshama. That's what we're here for. We're here to make that connection. Now the Torah, it's very good if it goes into your mind, and you need to fill up your mind with Torah. You can't just go, I feel like I will be a good person, I'll be like a good person. But if you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, you'll be doing wrong things. You can't just have the live. And you can't just have the mind. You have to have the connection. And I give you an example. A person can study all the Torah, and the Torah will remain just in his head, and he can know a lot of halakha, he can know a lot of Gemara, and he's not going to be a good person. Why? Because he hasn't connected his mind to his heart. He hasn't done that connection. And I give you an example. In the Navi was somebody called Doeg and Achitofel. They were great leaders in Am Yisrael at the time of David HaMelech. And he says that Kol Gdolei Ado ki klipat hashum begabe Achitofel, which in English means that in wisdom or in Torah knowledge, all of the leaders of the generation were like the peel of garlic. Klipat hashum is the expression to like nothing. It's like it's the smallest. It's like smaller than paper thin. All right, the peel of a garlic. Klipat hashum. It was like nothing. All the greatest sages were nothing compared to Achitofel. So Achitofel, he was Rasha, But he was a massive Torah knowledge. Where? Because it was all in his mind.
He was the teacher of David, one of them.
One of the teachers and also one of the advisors. And it went against him in the end, but Rasha. Because there was no connection between the Torah that he had in his mind and his heart. Another example. Who can give me another example of Rasha that was big Talmud Chacham?
Rovan ben Nevat, of course.
Yovan ben Nevat. Also, who else?
Korach.
Korach, exactly. Korach was also one of the great leaders, and he managed to persuade a lot of people. And the best, maybe one of the biggest examples was Esav. The head of Esav is buried in Marat HaMachpelah, but his body is not. There was no connection. So,
Sorry, can I?
go on.
Esav wasn't whole when he was buried. He was decapitated.
Esav was decapitated. Yeah. If we just recap quickly the story, is when they came to bury Yaakov. So Esav came along and said, "What do you mean? It's my part." It just as you buried already your wife, and now it's mine. I got the rest of the inheritance. And they had a little argument over there. And then he said, "The tribes, we have a contract. You sold it. Yaakov, he bought the territory, and it belongs to him." He said, "Well, where's the deed?" And he said, "It's back in Egypt." They sent Naphtali to run, and he was a speedy express
Speedy
delivery man. Yeah, it's been Naphtali is Ayala Shlucha, but that's also why the Doar Israel has the symbol of Ayala. A deer, yeah. I don't know if it works as speed as Naphtali, but that's the symbol. At the same time, the Hushim ben Dan was one of the grandchildren of Yaakov Avinu. He was deaf, and he couldn't hear what was going on. And everyone's like trying to have a orderly, discussion. We'll get my lawyer. We'll get you the contract. So on. And he doesn't sound. He said, "What? My grandfather's here. His body needs to be buried. And what's the fuss going on?" Because Esav is causing problems. Esav, what do you mean? Get him out of the way. He just took a club and he chopped his head off. Esav, and he rolled into Marat HaMachpelah. That was the story. And you just, if you stand on the side, if you're involved, you don't really understand what's going on. But standing from the side, goes, "What do you mean? This is bizayon for my grandfather." And the point, why did we get onto this, is because Esav had his Torah in his head. So it's very important to study the Torah. And it has to fill up your mind. But there has to be a connection to the heart. How do you open up your heart? How do you get from what in your mind into your heart?
With humility.
So, what do you mean? Do you want to explain what you mean?
Yeah, humility. If you don't have, it's olat alev, gava, it's olat alev, right? You have humility, so it's open.
I don't know. I was going to say something else, but you want to explain what you mean?
Yeah, it's like in Ekev, Ekev, which is the lowest part of the body. So that's why Moshe was chosen, because he was enough Mikol Adam. So,
I see what you mean. So you mean the Anava brings it down from the mind to the heart. Okay, so I was going to say a different idea. The Torah has to go in through your mind, and you have to study and hear Shurei Torah. But that's not the end. That's just the in-between stage. Very important, big in-between stage. But the main part is to bring down the Torah from your mind, or your Torah that you know, into your heart, that you believe it, until you live the Torah. And that's the Ramban says, try and find something that you study that you can live in your life. That's when we're discussing in the shiur. At the end of the shiur, that was okay, that was nice. Now, what am I going to do something in my life now and take that shiur with me into my life? That's what you should be thinking. So the tefillin is one act that we do that connects the mind and the heart. Another way to connect the heart is to open up your lev, to open up the heart. How do you open up the heart? So there are always a few ways. Okay? And this is where we're getting on to the Hilula. So one obvious way is yain, wine. Vayain is samach levav enosh. When a person drinks wine, his heart is open. Yeah, always when you need to ask for a favor, bring someone into a dinner, or you doing business, have a dinner, have wine, and that's when you can make your request, right? Yeah, and people donate a lot of money when you go to dinner. That's why they make big dinners for charity. But also when you have music, and when you have food, and when you have songs, and then you're talking about the tzaddik, your heart is open. Everything gets much more connected. Now that is just on a physical way of understanding. But if you look in the Torah, where do we see it in the Torah? Yitzchak Avinu, when he wanted to give a bracha to Esav, what did he say to him? He said, Lech beni tavi li matamim. Go bring me, I want to go make me food. Now we said, why is Yitzchak asking for food? You want to give a bracha, give him a bracha. Why are you asking for food now? It's not, we're not like Master Chef. I want to taste what's your best food. Yeah, okay. What was the point of that?
Oh, he needed an excuse to, he needed an external incentive to get himself to the point he can bless him out of love.
Okay. So it was important for the blessing. But what does it mean? It's not like an incentive, but it was a connector. Now let's explain. When someone needs to make him bracha, he needs to see the person that he's giving bracha to. Same thing with klala, cursing. When Bilam wanted to curse Am Yisrael, he told Balak, go take me onto the mountain where I can see Am Yisrael and curse them. He tried one place, take me to another place where I can see them. If you can't see them, you can't do the curse, right? And you can't do the bracha. Yitzchak was blind. So that means he didn't have the sense of sight. So he had to make up for that. How did he make up for that? So one way was by eating the food. That's a connector. I've eaten your food. You worked on making the food. I'm not eating the food. That connects me to you because I can't see you. Also, he smelled him. He said, "Ata reach hasadeh." I can smell that you got reich Gan Eden when you've come in. Yaakov Avinu came. Also, he wanted to touch him and feel him. How did he know that he was hairy? Yadayim yedei Esav bakol kol Yaakov. So he heard the voice of Yaakov and he touched him to feel him. Why? So you got the sense of taste, of smell, of hearing, kol Yaakov, and of touching. So all of the senses was to connect. So now when I'm sitting here in the Hilulah, I'm connecting all my senses. I'm opening up my heart. I'm thinking, listen, I didn't just hear a story about the tzaddik. I'm drinking, I'm with my friends, I'm in the group, all talking about the tzaddik, all talking about the stories of Emunah, how he was close to Hashem. I want to be like that tzaddik as well. And I'm singing the songs and the songs of Kedusha, of the Hilulah, of Baba Sali and the tzaddikim. And I'm drinking and I'm happy and I simcha and the love comes in, and that's how it goes. Now, to most Moroccan who's been to Hilula, you don't have to explain to them why you need to go to Hilula. Okay? But for somebody else, or even for people who's going to explain, you know you do it in the right way. It's not just about being a party. I actually want to come closer to Hashem. I need to do that. I want to open up my life.
Did we lose the rabbi?
Yeah, he's frozen on my screen.
Mine too.
You'd like. Thank you for recording. Okay, we just switched there. Fine. So we're going to do a few stories of Baba Sali. If you want to just get your glasses, everyone fill up a glass. And we'll have a little l'chaim together, and we'll do stories from Baba Sali. John, if you have wine or arak or whiskey or something,
I'm gonna go and get something. I'm gonna get.
Everyone will do bachat shakol. Go on, Mayor, you as well. Or Geffen. We're going to take it. Tonight is the evening of Daled Shvat. Is Motzei Daled Shvat. Today, last night and today was the Hilula of Rabbi Israel Abu Chatzera. He was a big tzaddik living in our lifetimes. Well, definitely in my lifetime. He passed away when I was a baby. My parents actually had the zchut to see him and to meet him. And many people, this is somebody who was tzaddik living in our generation. And he reached very high levels of tzidkut. He was davuk all the time with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, very, very high levels, until he reached a stage where he did amazing miracles for people, all through his love of Am Yisrael, for his love for the Torah, for his love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everything was done with love. There's no power of hatred or any sorcery involved. All from love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you see all of the nature just changed. And we're going to give a few examples of the stories, but one thing is that one of the tzaddikim, Rav Aaron Rotab Shomer Amunim, he gave testimony that Baba Sali he had the Gilui of the Baal Shem Tov came to him, and the Noam Elimelech, and Eliyahu Navi came to Baba Sali himself, and he used to study with him. And such a high level of tzaddik that he was. So maybe we'll just say a few stories, and maybe then we share the idea of how does a tzaddik get to such a level like that. So one thing I heard you last night from Rav Avram Abutbol is just like one of the people who live in my street. He said in shul on the end of my road. He said when he was a Bachur Yeshiva, he's like an older man now, maybe in his 80s, but when he was young, Yeshiva Bachur, he went to visit Baba Sali in his sukkah. And there's also people drinking and eating, all the people in the Tivot, and he saw two Bachurei Yeshiva, so he called them over, he said, come, you sit next to me. And the Moroccan hospitality, he put food on their plate and he gave them to eat, and even from his plate he took and gave them, and everyone was wondering, like, you know, who's these Bachurei Yeshiva? And he was like holding them and he said, drink. And he said, okay, I'll have a soft drink, yeah, I'll have a water. Yeah, you know, there's times what you ask for, it says water. And he said, I'll say it in Hebrew and then I'll translate it. He said, בבית הזה יש מים רק לנטילת ידיים. אתה רוצה לשתות, יש רק ערק. That was the line, which means in English that you want water, water's for netilat yadayim. You're drinking, we only have arak. And he filled him up a whole glass of arak. And he said, now you drink. And he was a young bachor at the time, but he's not used to drinking. And the tzaddik said, so he drank it. He said he felt it, he drank as if he was drinking water. He said it was smooth, it was soft, it was just, he felt calm, clear head, like didn't go to the whole massive bother. My father also says a similar story that he went to Baba Sali also when he was maybe 19 or 20 years old. And many people say this story. He gave him a full glass, and my dad was scared to drink. You know, not used to drinking, especially a big glass like that. You know, give him a little shot. And he made him drink, and he drank the whole thing straight. And it was like water for him, he said. And he, you know, the brother Basal gave him a bracha, and he went back. He said, when he went back to Akko, to my grandfather, he was like feeling all macho. I drank a whole cup of arak, you know, I can't show you. He went back to my Saba, Saba Yaakov, and he told me, I drank a whole cup of arak, yeah, I can drink now. He said, okay, let me see. My grandfather poured him like a little cup of arak. I said, go on, Bachaba, drink. He had a little swig, started coughing. And here my grandfather's laughing. He said, Tzaddik is that, not you. And he said that when he was at Baba Sali, he treated them like royalty. Yeah, you Bachurei Yeshiva. Then there's times it was rare to find Bachurei Yeshiva, especially Sephardi Bachurei Yeshiva. And he gave them the top seat on his table in the sukkah. And when they left, he said he gave them a lot of money. He said in those times he gives 50 lirot. I don't know how much was 50 lirot, but he said it was a lot of money. And he gave each of us 50 lirot, and he says, go and learn Torah. And he's big Talmid Chacham now, Rabbi Avraham Abutbol, my neighbor. And he saw that, you see, there's love for Am Yisrael, and especially his love for Talmidei Chachamim, for those who learn Torah. Another story I heard yesterday is that one time he needed to travel, and somebody offered to take him. And he said, no, I'm not going in the car. So this is a car of Chilul Shabbat. Somebody who's Mechalel Shabbat with this car, I'm not going to sit in that car. It was a Chiloni. And he said, okay, well, listen, we need to go. He said, I'll take a bus. You can take a bus, okay. He gets on the bus, Baba Sali on the bus, okay. And the bus is driving now intercity on the main motorway, okay. And he needs to stop for Mincha. And he asked the driver, please, now it's time for Shkia, I need to stop for Mincha. He said, if you want, I'm stopping, but we're not waiting for you. Yeah, he says, listen, I need to pray Mincha now. Do whatever you want. Just let me off the bus. Oh, it's going to be Shkia, the sun set. It's going to set, I need to pray Mincha. He said, Rabbi, do what you want. I'm leaving, I'm not waiting for you. Okay, he stops the bus. He lets him off. He does Netilat Yadayim. And the tzaddik goes to pray in his corner, prays Mincha. Now the bus driver tries to turn on the engine and continue driving. The engine wouldn't start. And he's trying to restart. Engine wouldn't start. He gets out, looks at the engine, looks it up. Of course, I don't know what does, calling for help, gets stuck. Okay, the bus is not moving. The Baba Sali is finished to pray his mincha. He turns around, the bus is still there. We walks onto the bus. He said, why aren't you moving? Why are you still here? I thought you're not waiting. He said, listen, there's a problem with the bus won't start. We tried several times, doesn't work. He said, okay, try again now. See if it'll work. And the driver starts the engine and off he goes driving. He says, it's just there to stop for Baba Sali. Baba Sali needs to pray mincha. You don't think you're going to wait, you're going to make sure that you're going to wait. And another story I heard yesterday is a father and son. And he said that the father came crying to Baba Sali that he was critically ill, the child, the son. And the son was diagnosed with the illness, with a lethal illness. And they went to Baba Sali. And Baba Sali asked him, he said, listen, you keep Shabbat? He said, don't keep Shabbat. You put on tefillin every day. He said, no. He said, you keep kashrut. Kasher, he said, we don't keep kasher. He said, you don't, how you want me to give you a bracha? I can give you a bracha, you don't keep Shabbat, you don't put on tefillin, you don't keep kashrut. He said, promise me these three things. Shabbat, tefillin, and kashrut. For your whole life, you and your son. You promise me, I'll give you, your son will live. And they took him seriously. We're going to do these three things, Shabbat, tefillin, and kashrut. And he gave them a bracha. And afterwards they came back, they did the test, everything is clean, everything's there. And that's the power of Baba Sali. There's a famous story which is written about the Baba Sali. I heard that someone told me that happened in France, and I heard that yesterday it happened in the south of Israel, with a mikveh. It was in the Tammuz of Tammuz, in a place where they needed to build a mikveh, and there was no mikveh there for women to do tefillah. And it was in the heat of the summer month of Tammuz, which is August time, July. And there's no rain. And to fill up a mikveh, you have to have rainwater, and you need to have something like 40 sa, maybe something like 700 liters of water, rainwater, to make a kosher mikveh. And they built it, and they came to Baba Sali, they asked Baba Sali to come along and inspect the mikveh. And he said, okay, let's do tefillah, we'll pray, that will rain. And I was looking at Baba Sali, we don't pray for rain in July. When does it rain in July? It doesn't rain in July. Hey, this pray, it's going to rain. I said, we came here to do a mitzvah. We're going to open, we need it to rain. Hashem will open up Hashem runs the world. Hashem decides when he wants it to be raining. We need rain for the mikveh, or will come down rain. He did his tefillah, and rain came down. In the middle of Tammuz, pouring rain, and the mikveh was filling. And everyone's so happy, and everyone's singing, and everyone's like, we had a miracle, and the rain come down. Baruch Hashem, thank God for this miracle of the rain. And we have a mikveh, Baruch Hashem. Everyone's impressed with the tzaddik. Now, the Baba Sali walks around the mikveh to check it again, and he sees there's a problem with the connection of the mikveh, that according to one of the opinions, it's not good. Now, whenever we build a mikveh, we always try and do all the shitot, all the different opinions to fulfill it. It's very complicated. The halachot of mikvahot, I studied it in the Kollel, it took us half a year. That was like quick, we did it in 6 months, just the halachot of mikveh, all day, morning, evening, afternoon. And that was just like the basics, not like to become an expert, just to understand what to look for and be. And there's many different opinions, but we always try to do, because first of all, it's all nida, it's all karet, it's the foundation of the Jewish home, Jewish purity. And also, everyone uses the same mikveh. Sfaradim, Ashkenazim, Chasidim, Temanim. So you have to, Chabad, it has to be done according to everyone. You can't have one person, no. You have one shita of Rabbi Assad, that according to him, the mikveh is not lechatchila. Then if it's not kasher or not lechatchila. So Baba Sali said, okay, listen, take out all the water. Empty out the mikveh. It's not, we want to do it the kasher hidur. And the other rabbis there saying, listen, Rabbi, we had the miracle, and we're not going to empty out now. We need at least a mikveh. At least let's have some kind of kosher mikveh. So, okay, one shita we didn't get, one commentary, one opinion. But listen, at least we got the right to kosher mikveh. He said, no, empty out the mikveh, and he insisted on it. He said, listen, but you're going to ask for another miracle? We had one miracle, you can't ask for another one. He said, empty out the mikveh, and he insisted on it. They emptied out the mikveh. And it was a big disappointment because they really were waiting for this, and it was really happy time. And now you know, who knows what's going to happen. Already the clouds already dispersed and it's sunny again. They can't argue with Baba Sali. Yeah. They emptied out the mikveh. And then Rabbi Sali said, now what do you want to do? You know, b'chavod, yeah. He walks up to the mikveh and he cries out to the heavens, to Shemaim, and he says, Rabbi Yehuda Assad said, we had this mikveh kasher, and I made them empty out because we wanted to be kasher according to your opinion as well. And we did it for you, kavod, and now please do it for us and help us to fill up the mikveh and make it rain again. But Basali finished speaking, and again the clouds formed and it started pouring rain again. And no one could believe this. Abba Basali, what is tzaddik, and he managed to make it rain twice in the times of July, August time. And then you see the power of the tzaddik again. I'm going to end the phone with one story and maybe say the idea, how did he do from, and there's many miracles. People told me, I had yesterday from Eliran Elbaz. He was the musician at the Hilula. And when Rav Toledano, he's married to the granddaughter of Baba Sali, he's the Rav of Givat Ze'ev, where I live, he came. And he said the story of a person in a wheelchair. And the Baba Sali gave him a bracha, and he said, get up. And he got up and he ran to the phone to call his family to tell them that he's not in a wheelchair anymore. And Eliran Elbaz, the musician, says, I know this very true story because I know the person happened. I heard it from directly. Many miracles. One last story I heard from my brother-in-law, and then we understand that how did he reach such a level of madriga of tzidkut. Rabbi Michael Toledano. He was the founder of Yeshivat Or Baruch, and the founder of Yeshiva Brit Yaakov in Yerushalayim. And my brother-in-law would have studied in his yeshiva. He used to tell this story. He said in the early days when he founded the yeshiva, so he used to go collecting for the yeshiva and to fund it. And he had one Arab working in the kitchens. I don't know what happened, but the stupid guy, he put his hand in one of the machines and he crippleized his hand. I don't know what happened, but the machine just ate his hand. And he was crippled. And he sued the yeshiva for an exorbitant amount of money. And they took him to court. And he said, like, the money that he was asking for, like, there was no way of continuing. It was like more money than all the yeshiva building was worth. Like all the funding of years, and like it'll be like the end of the yeshiva. And like this is like his whole life was just for the study of the Torah, that the students should be able to study and to learn in yeshiva. And he said he didn't have no day, no night. He couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't have appetite, couldn't smile, couldn't, somebody's going through that. This is like the end of everything that you've been living for the past whatever decade of your life. And he said, I'm going to go to the Tzaddik Baba Sali Netivot. He was at my table this week and he told me this story. And he drives to Netivot and he gets to the door and he knocks on the door. And the wife of Baba Sali opens the door. She said, I'm sorry that you can't come in. The rabbi is not feeling well. He's resting. I'm sorry, come again later. He's like, I just came from Yerushalayim to Netivot. I'm coming in. He said, I apologize for the Rav. אתה לא נכנס. הרב לא מרגיש טוב. אני said, תקשיבי לי. או שנותנת לי להיכנס, או אני שובר את הדלת ואני נכנס. You let me in, I'm going to break the door and come in. And she said, listen, כבוד הרב, הוא לא מרגיש טוב. He's ill, he's in bed, I can't disturb him. What do you want to do? And he says to her, okay, just tell him הרב מיכל טולדנו from ירושלים, כן. Just תגידי לו באוזן. Tell him in his ear, if he listens, and whatever he says, okay? So they agreed, that's what they agreed on. He waited outside, she closed the door. She went to Baba Sali, who was lying in his bed, he's not well, elderly man. You heard Michal Toledano? Of course. Bring him in. Talmid Chacham. Make a seudah. Bring 10 people. Bring ochel shel Shabbat. Go tell his wife, go make ochel shel Shabbat. And bring in the seudah and bring 10 people. So Rabbi Michal Toledano is a Talmid Chacham. Talmid Chacham is B'Kinat Shabbat. You have to make ochel shel Shabbat and the seudah. So they bring him in, they sit him down, and they're moving around, getting the table ready, the chairs, seudah, and there's cooking, and people coming in, and they're eating, and they have a seudah, and he goes, "Bah, b'chabad, mi'machael, baruch haba," and netilat yadayim. Okay, netilat yadayim, and everyone's sitting down, everyone's eating and drinking, and then he tries to say a word, he can't get his mouth out. His mouth open, and he's already pouring him arak. B'chabad, tishteh. Okay, drink. After like half an hour, they're eating and they're drinking. He says, "Rabbi Michael, what did you come for?" He goes, מה באתי? אני באתי, יש לי צרות, ואתה בא, עושה לי סעודה, אני באתי, יש לי בעיה. אז מה הבעיה? אין בעיה. אז מה, רוצים? משפט, הערבי, הישיבה. What do you want to do? They're suing me in court. I can't sleep, I can't eat. You're making me for סעודה. He goes, לא, אין בעיה, הכל בסדר. הכל בסדר. אין כלום. And that was enough. That was enough. He said, אין כלום, okay. בכבוד, לחיים. He did it לחיים, and he was calm. They had a סעודה, they were happy, they ate, finished, going back to Yerushalayim. And he was calm. And he said, listen, Baba said it's fine. I said, I didn't know what's going to be, but if he said אין כלום, אין כלום. And he had the emunah, or that tzaddik said, there's nothing, everything can be fine. After the next day was a day of court. He went to the Bet Mishpat and he was fine. He was calm, akol beseder. Went to the court case, and his lawyer spoke first. He said, listen, he wasn't even meant to be in the kitchen. He was part of the staff, but he wasn't supposed to be in the kitchen. He wasn't a kitchen staff. He came in on his own. He put his hand, his own negligence, nothing to do with the yeshiva, and there's nothing to do with us. Okay, now let's say the other side, prosecuting side. What do you have to say? And the lawyer got up, and he didn't say anything. And the judge says, what do you have to say? Speak. He didn't say anything. He says, nothing, you have nothing to say. You're just wasting the court's time. You're wasting the court's time. And the case dismissed. Fine. You have to pay. You pay the other side for the yeshiva. You pay the money for wasting your time. Bangs the hammer, walks out. And afterwards, he came up to me. He said, what happened? He said, listen, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I had a lot of things to say. I prepared. I had a good case. I had a good argument. I just got up to speak, and I don't know what happened. I just couldn't say anything. And Michael was smiling. He goes, you don't know what happened, but I know what happened. I went to Tzaddik yesterday. And that was the power of Baba Sali, the emunah. And where did you get this from? So, a person who is davuk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, maybe we could explain, but explain again. What's the difference between a tzaddik and a rasha? How you define rasha and how you define tzaddik? And this is based on the teachings of the Bal HaSulam, Pirush al-Azor, also brought down from Rav Dessler, Mechta Milyon. And this is a new definition of how you have understood rasha and tzaddik before. He said rasha is someone who only cares about himself. There is rasha. And tzaddik is someone who cares about other people. This is a bit deep, but this is really the source of all good and evil. Rasha is ratzon shel atzmo. That means he cares for himself. That means he'll do what he wants. He'll eat what he wants. Regardless if it's kasher or not kasher, if it hurts other people, doesn't hurt other people, if he has to steal it or not steal it. He just cares about himself. And he'll do everything, nothing to do with Torah. But a tzaddik is tzaddik, tzino darko yavo kedusha. That means he's a tzino is a pipe. Through him will come down kedusha in the world. Baba Sali always cared about other people. It doesn't matter, they're religious or not religious, come back, come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Keep Shabbat, keep pointing at the feeling. I'll give you a bracha, everything will be good. Don't worry about the coolness. Don't worry, the rain will come down, we need the mikvah, we'll do that. He cared about all of Am Yisrael. All the time he was connected. Everything that Torah that was in his mind was connected to his heart. The Rashaim of Korach and Achitophel, all of the Torah was not connected to their heart. They didn't care. Their heart was for themselves. They studied Torah for their own pride. They studied Torah to manipulate and to use other people, not for giving good to other people. A tzaddik wants to give good to others, wants to be there for others, to help other people, to be there for his family, to be there to provide, to be there for the community, to be there for the friend. That's I heard Joe, you need a plumber, I'll give you a plumber. that is tzaddik, yeah, to care about others. Yeah, that's tzaddik. Rasha only care about himself. And Baba Sali, when you have that power, then you connect it to Hashem, everything comes through you, Hashem gives you. Because you're not there to receive. And this is a deep concept. Rasha wants to receive and wants to give. Hashem is not going to give. He will have very difficulties. Even he'll manipulate and he'll get what he wants in many ways, but he's not going to be happy. He's going to suffer in many other ways. No one has a complete life. Good in one area, bad in another area. But Tzaddik, all his life is good. You see, always he's happy, he's smiling. Oh Hashem, thank God, thank God, thank God. So maybe if we just summarize what we learned tonight. And we learn about the importance of Yetziat Mitzrayim and why we're remembering it every day. The emunah and faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The reason why we're putting on tefillin every day is to remember the miracles God did for us in Egypt. Those are the miracles that we see every day in our lives. To look for God. The emunah that we have in our mind, yeah, we know we went out of Egypt. We know that we're the chosen nation. We know God is exists. We need to follow that through, connect that with our heart. That's what we're putting tefillin. Connect the lev, connect the more. Put on for a long time. That's the connector. To try and move down what we have in our minds to our hearts. That's why we go to Elulot. We drink, we're happy with the stories of tzaddikim. We feel like we want to become more a tzaddik, more connected, to be more like that tzaddik. Who cares about others? Baba Sali used to do, he had the problems, okay, give them a bracha, but that's not the end. When they went, he used to cry, do tefillot, do ta'anit, he used to fast. Hashem, I gave them a bracha that they should be well. He used to take on upon himself a fast for many days sometimes, 40 days, fasting for other people that they should be healthy. The koach of the Torah, he used it for giving good to others, didn't use it for himself. Everything was there was to give to other people. That's the definition we said that Rasha, that he always cares about himself and doesn't care about any rules. All the mitzvot is supposed to bring us to be better people, to be good people. Look at what you studied and try and put it into your life. And B'ezrat Hashem, if we take that message up from us tonight, from the Parashat Bo, from the Parashat of Tefillin, from the episode of the Tzaddikim, B'ezrat Hashem, we will be merit to come closer to Kadosh Baruch Hu and become more better Tzaddikim. B'ezrat Hashem, we'll be able to be happy and enjoy lives for the benefit of ourselves, for our family, for all on the side. Thank you all of you for joining us.
Thank you, Rabbi, for all.
And especially thank you for your patience. For your patience with the connection with the laptop. And thank you for sharing with me, L'chaim. L'chaim tovim to everybody.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Amen.
Next week. I just want to wish Mazal Tov to my brother Uriah. Avia Ben is making a brit on Sunday. B'ezrat Hashem.
Mazal Tov.
Yeah. So if anyone is in Beit Vagan or in Israel, welcome to join us.
Thank you, Mazal Tov, Rabbi.
Shabbat shalom to you.
Thank you very much.
Shabbat shalom. Bye-bye.
Good night. Thank you for joining, Yaakov. Thank you.
Thank
Joe.
you, Rabbi.
Good night. Thank you.